Once your website goes live, it can feel like the job is done. The pages are there, the form is working, everything looks good, and you can finally tick it off the list. But if your website matters to your business, it does still need looking after. A website is not something you launch and then leave alone for years. It needs hosting, updates, backups, security checks, form testing, broken link checks, speed checks, and general care to keep it working properly. So the straightforward answer is yes. Website maintenance matters after launch. Website maintenance is one of those things that sounds really boring until something goes wrong. Nobody is waking up excited about plugin updates, backups, or broken link checks. But if your inquiry form stops working, your website goes down, or your pages start loading really slowly, very quickly becomes important. Because for most businesses, the website isn't just sitting there for decoration. It's where people check you out. It's where they read about your services. It's where they decide whether they trust you. And quite often, it's where they make an inquiry. So if your website is part of how you get leads, bookings, sales, or credibility, looking after it is part of looking after the business. A website isn't like a printed leaflet. Once a leaflet is printed, it doesn't really change unless you reprint it. A website is different. It sits in a digital space that is constantly changing. WordPress updates, plugin updates, theme updates, browsers change, devices change, search engines change, security risks change, and your business changes too. So even if your website is perfect on launch day, it still needs attention over time. I often think of it a bit like a car. You do not buy a car, drive it for years and never check the tyres, oil, brakes, or have an MOT. You might get away with it for a little bit, but eventually something is going to become a problem. And a website is similar. Maintenance is about preventing issues before they become stressful. The tricky thing is that a website can look fine on the surface while problems are starting behind the scenes. A plugin might become outdated, a contact form might stop sending emails, a page might start loading slowly, or a link might break. There might be a small conflict between plugins which might affect part of the website. Sometimes these things are obvious, but sometimes they're not, and that's the problem. A business owner might not realise their form has stopped working until they notice that inquiries have dropped. Or they might not know that the site is getting slower until customers start leaving before they even get to the contact page. That is why maintenance isn't about panic fixes. It's about keeping an eye on the site regularly so small issues can be picked up before they become bigger problems. One area where people often get confused is the difference between hosting and maintenance. Hosting is where your website lives. It is the server space that stores your website files, images, content, and data so people can access your site online. Good hosting affects speed, reliability, security, uptime, user experience, and SEO performance. So yes, hosting is essential. Every website needs it. But hosting on its own is not always the same as website care. The simplest way to explain it is this. Hosting keeps your website online, maintenance keeps your website healthy. And then a retainer or block of hours is for improving or changing the website over time. So if you only have hosting, your website may be live, but that does not always mean someone is actively checking updates, forms, broken links, speed, security, and all the bits behind the scenes. That difference really matters. A website care plan is there to reduce risk and keep the site healthier after launch. For a WordPress website, that usually means things like backups, WordPress updates, theme updates, plugin updates, malware checks, SSL checks, speed checks, broken link checks, database cleanups, button testing, and contact form testing. I know that list isn't glamorous, but each part has a purpose. Backups matter because if something goes wrong, you need a safe version of the website to return to. Updates matter because outdated plugins and themes can create issues and security risks. Form testing matters because a broken form can mean a missed inquiry. And then broken link checks matter because you don't want people hitting dead ends on your site. So maintenance isn't about constantly changing a website, it's about keeping the foundations healthy. Not every business needs the same level of support. For most WordPress websites, I would say the essentials are reliable hosting, an SSL certificate, regular backups, WordPress updates, theme and plugin updates, security checks, contact form testing, and support if something stops working. That's the core care side. Then you have the things that are useful, but not always essential every month. Things like new pages, blog uploads, landing pages, SEO improvements, design refinements, or new functionality. Those are more about improving and growing the website rather than keeping it healthy. So if you have a small brochure website, you may not need regular content changes every month. But if your website supports marketing, SEO, bookings, campaigns, or sales, those ongoing improvements can become much more important. This is another thing that's worth separating. A care plan is not the same as regular development support. Care plan is mainly about keeping the website healthy, updates, checks, backups, all of those kind of things. Whereas a retainer or block of hours is more for when you need regular changes or improvements. So that could be a new service page, a campaign landing page, content uploads, design changes, or new functionality. The simple version is that a care plan is about keeping the website healthy, whereas a retainer or block of hours is all about improving and changing the website. Many businesses end up needing both at different points, but they're not always the same thing. And it is really important to know what is included, because otherwise you might assume something is covered when it's not. The right level of support depends on how important your website is to your business. If your website only plays a small role and does not change very often, a simpler setup may be enough. But if your website supports inquiries, bookings, sales, then it needs more attention. The main thing to understand is what you're paying for each month. Some packages may include hosting only, some include hosting and care, some include care plus time for updates. None of those are wrong, but they're not the same. So before choosing a support plan, make sure you know whether backups are included, whether updates are handled, forms being checked, whether security is monitored, and what happens if something breaks. That clarity is what helps you choose properly. So, do you really need website maintenance after your website goes live? If your website matters to your business, yes. Hosting keeps your website online, maintenance keeps it working properly. If your website needs regular improvements, a retainer or block of hours may be useful as well. The main thing is not to launch the site and then forget about it. A healthy website needs care behind the scenes. If you're unsure of what level of support you need, take a look at our hosting and care plan page or get in touch with us. We can talk you through what will make the most sense for your site.